an early start, 110 midweek game at Dodger Stadium. And the big news, of course, is Clayton Kershaw is coming back. He pitched, he went, made 3 rehab starts. One was in June, and then 2 were this month. Pitched a combined 10 innings. He went 3 innings and then 4 and 4, or excuse me, 3 innings, and then 4 innings his last time. Daniel, I'm looking forward to Kershaw being back. I'm glad that he's been able to navigate this recovery. I was skeptical when he first had his surgery, just because of the nature of a shoulder injury for a pitcher of his age. Are you concerned at all that maybe this has been rushed a little bit because of the state of the rotation?
That is honestly my main concern here. Like, obviously, I'm excited to see Clayton Kershaw back on the big league mound at Dodger Stadium. It's going to be a hot one tomorrow. First of all, like, they picked quite the game for him to come back in 110 game in the middle of July. But yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily see what the rush was here. Like, I would have given him probably 2 or 3 more rehab starts. Like, just make sure, because he went out there and had the one setback. So once that happened, I was like, all right, they're going to take it nice and slow here. Like, they're not going to waste anything, because we're pretty much at the point, like, here at the end of July, where if he goes out there tomorrow and has another setback, like, then you're really against time. Like, then you're looking at a mid-September type, comeback. Like, that's best case scenario probably. So yeah, I definitely thought they'd be more cautious here, take their time building him up. Especially when you see, like, some of these young guys have come up and pitched well. And, they just optioned a guy like Landon Knack today, and they might option another guy tomorrow if they want to bring in another reliever or something. Like, I just feel like at this point, like, let these young kids pitch. They've been doing good enough that, the division lead is still what it is. So I definitely thought they'd give it a couple more weeks with Kershaw, but at this point, I think with him, like, where anytime he takes the mound at this point in his career, we're just kind of hoping for the best. Like, even just seeing Clayton Kershaw and back right next to each other here on the screen gives me a little PTSD. So, we'll hope for the best, and I am excited to see him pitch.
Yeah, a couple things really quick. Let me pause the Kershaw discussion. So Dave Roberts did say in his post-game press conference tonight that the Dodgers obviously were running short on available relief pitchers. He wanted to avoid even using Ryan Yarbrough, but then that got to be something that they had to rely on. With Chris Taylor specifically, there is some decent level of concern. And if he does go on the IL, which does appear likely, James Outman will be back up. So Outman's going to get another crack at things here.
Do you even make it to OKC?
Probably not. Yeah, back to Kershaw. I'm considering how the Dodgers have historically handled everything, that it is, just the end of July. I'm with you. I thought that he would have made at least one more rehab start, especially, and when the Dodgers made this decision to have Kershaw come back on Thursday, they're not necessarily, they don't have the information that they have now of, as we just went over at the beginning of the show, and I reiterated just now, the bullpen has been taxed. And so Kershaw's coming back. He's stretched out to 4 innings. Like, best case scenario tomorrow, he gives you 5 innings, which again is another short start. And so it's going to be interesting. And you bring up a good point that, if there is any sort of shoulder issue, soreness that lingers, like, it then really jeopardizes, I think, the rest of the season in October. And then for me, it'll circle back to, well, wait a minute, you guys were a little quick to trade James Paxton.
Yeah.
Because that is the one thing, like, I could see it making sense from the standpoint of DFA him now when they did at the beginning of the week, trade him because there is trade value. And the reports are that the Dodgers have taken multiple calls from teams with interest in Paxton. So I could see that. But it does put, I forget, and forgive me if I said this to you, I and our viewers who may have been with us last night, I said I've admitted to losing track of who I've shared what information with, because we've done so many of these shows. Moving away from Paxton, to me, does put more pressure on Kershaw, on Buehler, on Bobby Miller, on Yamamoto to not only come back, but also then be effective.
Yeah. Well, first of all, shout out to you. I meant to say this earlier, but our guy Spiegel's out of town this week, so you've been stepping up here to hosting all these shows, doing a great job. So thanks for that. I know it's a lot of talking and every night, obviously, but Yeah, like you said, it does put more pressure on those other guys because like we're sitting here in July and like if we have this conversation often, like what's the postseason rotation looking like? And I feel like every time we have the conversation, the answers are different. Like we legit have no clue at this point. So and you also brought up the length as well with the bullpen. Like that's another factor. We had that conversation. You obviously would like to have starters who could go more than 4 or 5 innings, especially when you're in this stretch here where I think they, have like 4 or 5 more days in a row without an off day. So yeah, hoping for the best. And obviously, Clayton Kershaw, he's a competitor. And I also think he's at the point in his career where obviously he's a lot more mature than he like when he was young, he just wanted to get up there and pitch like no matter what. Didn't matter if he felt great or not. Like he just wanted to go up there and compete for his team. But I think at this point in his career, given all the injuries he's dealt with, like he knows his body and he knows like how he's feeling and he knows if he's not feeling great, probably don't pitch. So that at least gives me a little confidence, like the fact that he's on board with it and he didn't because when he did have that setback in the minor leagues, like he kind of reported that himself, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, so it's not like he tried to pitch through it. So, we obviously hope there isn't another scenario like that where he has to take himself out of a game. But I think at this point in his career, he knows his body. So I'm just kind of banking on that.